Hello to everybody and welcome to this video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Death Guard representation at the Leeds Super Major happening this weekend. It's the UKTC event and it's the first GT I've been to since the Manchester one. Looking to have another great time and see how well I can perform with this list. First up, we're going to take a look at a detachment breakdown of the Death Guard players, and then we're going to run through my list and maybe a bit of the reasons why I've taken the units I've taken. So I do hope you enjoy, and I hope to see you all there. So here we have the detachment breakdown. We can see that there are 30 Death Guard players going to this event, which is a little over 10% of the player population. So there's going to be lots of Death Guard about there. Probably a lot of mirror matches going to happen, but we'll see. The most popular of the detachments that are going is the Virulent Victorium, which is no surprise. It's a very strong detachment with a lot of good stratagems, like the reroll number of hits and the Contagion range extension and everything like that. But it also has the sticky objectives, which is very similar to how the Index played. So people are more comfortable there. We are seeing a bit more of a spread out to the other detachments, but this is the home for a Death Guard player for a lot of them. Next up, we have the Champions of Contagion, which is maybe a little higher than I was expecting, but there are 9 of us going. This is a really powerful detachment. It has the access to crit 5s, and it has the reroll hits and wounds, so it really allows you to push through the damage of units if you know how to apply the pressure. I think the Champions of Contagion is very strong, and yeah, hoping that there's a good performance there from all those players. Then we have the Mortarian's Hammer. Again, this is another really strong detachment that we have. We do have these are the three sort of standout detachments that we're seeing at the moment in the meta. Mortarian's Hammer recently won where the Glass Hammer event with Nathan Roberts' list. It's kind of like a hull spam sort of thing, but it does allow you to spread the contagion to 2 units anywhere on the board as long as they're outside of 12 inches of your units, I believe. And it allows you to drop your Death Shroud in where you want. It's kind of hard to and difficult to screen because you have to have a front screen and a back screen, and that's just not something a lot of armies can do. So Mortarian's Hammer, yeah, another strong one. There's 6 people on there. And then the final remaining Death Guard player is the beloved Death Guard Dave from the Disgusting Resilient podcast. He's taken his Death Lost Chosen, which he's been playing since Codex drop, and I know he's super excited to give that a run out, so we'll see how he does. Moving on now to the list that I'll be taking to the event. We have the characters here, the Biologist Putrefire with the enhancement for the final ingredient. The Trio of Lords, we are taking the Contagion, the Poxes, and the Virulence. We have the Milligan Playcaster, the Taliman, and Typhus. Then we have a 10 mana Plague Marines and a 5 mana Plague Marines. We have the vehicles, which is a Chaos Land Raider, the Mephitic Blight Hauler, and then 2 of the heavy Blight Launcher drones. Then rounding it out, we have the Death Shroud. We've got 2 units of 3. We have 2 units of Spawn, and we have 3 units of Poxwalkers. Let's take a look through of some of the combinations that we're going to utilize in the Champions of Contagion detachment then. So as mentioned, we have the Biologist Putrefire. He's going to partner up with the Milligan Playcaster and go in the 10-man Plague Marine unit. That combination gives you lethal, sustained, crit 5s in melee always, and if the target you are shooting is afflicted, then they also get it in their shooting phase, which is really powerful, especially combining it with the hits and wounds stratagem for 2 CP against a wounded target. So that's going to really come in use against a big knight or something like that. If we look at the Plague Marine 10-man squad, we're taking the champions taking a Power Fist and a Plasma Gun. It's fairly standard. We've got 2 Blight Launchers, 2 Spewers. It gives us a nice versatile platform to shoot from against different targets. The Spewers are great at just picking up infantry or reducing the size of things like that. The Blight Launchers give us a bit of range and enable us to pop a few wounds on things there. And we've decided to take the Melter Guns instead of the Plasma. It was always a bit of a close one here, but for me personally, with the knights being such a strong representation in the meta, if you do happen to get the melter guns through in melter range, if you roll really hot or if you're using the stratagem, you can fish for the fives, and then each one of those is going to be a guaranteed wound and a sustained, which you'll probably be wounding on fives at that point. But again, you've got the reroll wounds, so you could really pop off with this unit and do a lot of damage to a knight or a large tank or whatever it is. But that's a sort of a take all comers PM list, which we are seeing in a lot of places at the moment. There are still 3 heavy plague weapons, and then as mentioned, the plague champions power fist. So you do get a lot of attacks there to cause damage with the lethal and sustained fives, and again the reroll works in melee, so it's a really powerful unit, and it just needs to be delivered in the right place. If you do get an activation of shooting into something big and an activation of melee, that unit is probably made up its points. Especially if you manage to proc the final ingredient on the Balor's Putrefier. Just to run through the final ingredient again, this is the enhancement which says if the Biologist Putrefier's unit gets a kill in the melee phase against a character, then for the rest of the game you can pick an additional plague to be active army-wide. So you really want to try and get this as soon as possible. It can be quite game warping because if the opponent just puts out a character sort of out in the open and you can kill it early, I think it's probably worth trying to do, because then you can always have, say, -1 save and -1 to hit up, and it makes your brawling units just a much more dangerous threat for them. So that's the 10-man Plague Marine units. In a lot of cases, they're probably starting the game inside the Land Raider, moving the Land Raider 10 inches, disembarking 3, and then making that charge. Some maps on the UKTC, it's a bit difficult to get off turn 1, but you can get into a good staging position, so you can push it out and then really cause some damage to the opponent on stage 2, which is usually the go turn when you want to be dropping your Death Shroud. So if you've got your 2 units of Death Shroud drop in and the Plague Marine unit running out the Land Raider shooting is also really good if you can sort of mitigate the hit rolls, and that is something we are able to do with the Lord of Virulence. So yeah, the combination of the Land Raider, the Plague Marines, and the characters can really put quite a dent into the opponent's army. Next up, we've got the Lord of Contagion. Not a lot really needs to be said about him. He's going to go with one of the Death Shroud units and almost always start up in Deep Strike. His job is to drop down 6 inches away from something that you really want to kill, something nice and big, and hopefully use your CP to make sure that that's the case, and then be a bit of a pain, because obviously any activation into that unit is going to be tough. You can use your +2 toughness to make that even more a tough unit to shift with toughness 9. And then if you do get through all of the Death Shroud and manage to kill him, he'll still get up on a 2-up, and that's going to take a lot of firepower from the opposing army, or in melee, he's just going to come back and then has a charge into that unit to do a lot of damage himself. Next up, we've got the Lord of Poxes. He has really grown on me in the playtest games that I've had. He is a beat stick. 6 attacks, lethals, devs, which is something we don't have a lot of access to in this army. But along with the 5-man Plague Marine unit, which does have the Champions Power Fist and the 2 heavy plague weapons, that's 15 heavy Power Fist statted weapons, so 8 to -2, 2. Obviously, with the -1 save, that's even better. So it's something that you can put the crit 5s stratagem on if you don't need it elsewhere, and you're going to be causing a lot of damage. And because he hits on 2s himself, you can sort of use him quite reliably to hit something sort of medium size. It's not going to do too much to a knight, but it's going to do a decent amount. But if you wanted to, say, pop a rhino or something like this, and then have the Death Shroud charge and piling on the other side to wipe out what's inside, it's a really powerful tool for that. I do have another video on the channel which goes into a bit more detail of how I use the Lord of Boxes and some tips and tricks, such as the rapid ingress plays with him because of the additional 3-inch contagion range that he gets if you bring him in on turn 3 or as a rapid ingress or whatever it is. His contagion will be 12 inches, which means that you can catch enemy units out by, if they obviously want to play and move out of your contagion, you can rapid ingress this unit and make sure that that model or unit are still in contagion, which is very powerful. And we have put the enhancement on here for the cornucophagus, and this is the enhancement, which is probably a little overpriced, but it does have its uses, and I found that I wasn't using the points elsewhere for this list. And this means that he himself will always have one of the 3 plagues activated. So sometimes I use this with the -1 OC to be a late game sort of bully, bring on and make sure that the OC is takeable, because you'll have a 5-man Plague Marine unit plus him, so 11 OC. If you can go on and bully something that's like a backfield marker or their natural expansion, they can rapid ingress on, move in, make a charge, and kill or out OC and swing the primary, which is good. Or again, coming on and spreading the contagion where it was an unexpected point. And playing the flanks with the Lord of Boxes is the best way to use him, because it actually means that his 18-inch loan up is effective. If you're just throwing him in the middle, everything's going to be able to shoot him. Next, we have the Lord of Virulence. He's fighting for the other spot with the 3 Death Shroud with Typhus. Depending on the matchup, I'll either put Typhus in that unit or the Lord of Virulence. The Lord of Virulence is mainly in the list to be able to point at something that I want to in the shooting phase and give my army reroll 1s to hit, or the anything with blast, reroll all of the hits. So yeah, he's often placed in deep strike, and he will drop down and make sure that I can do that. And he's good at scoring actions or dropping down on a point and scoring primary with a rapid ingress play or something like that, because it's just a solo base. But if there is a matchup with a lot of infantry and I might need the reroll wounds on the Death Shroud, I can stick him in there and know that I've got a reasonable chance of taking a good amount of wounds off some elite infantry or a lot of horde infantry. And then Typhus, if I need a -1 to hit, obviously that's always effective in melee, and it can counteract the +1 to hit of a unit, which often relies on it if you double up with the plague. But Typhus most often will either start off in deep strike solo, or will start off in the Land Raider, because there's a 14 capacity and the Plague Marines only take up 12 of that. So Typhus can still fit in there, and he can jump out and get some cheeky more wounds on something, or he can stay in there for the turn afterwards to be a threat inside the Land Raider, and then the turn afterwards activate to spread the contagion elsewhere and then do the mortal wounds. There's also some plays he can do with Typhus, getting out of the Land Raider and attaching to the Poxwalkers for like a super pressure screen with the Poxwalkers. If you can make that 4-inch charge, then you can put Typhus into the unit in certain instances. And a lot of people won't want that to happen if you go first against them. So that's all the characters. So rounding out the list, we do have the 2 heavy Blight Launcher drones. They are really strong at the moment, and as combined with the Lord of Virulence's ability, it can be quite consistent damage. You don't have the Virulent Vectorm stratagem to reroll the number of hits here, so they can still be quite swingy. I know a lot of people in the community are moving away from them, but for 100 points, then the damage that they can do, they are still really strong. Naturally, I tend to push the bloat drones forward and use them to be contagion spreaders. And I did previously have a spitter in the list, so the other data shape, which does have the fallback shoot and charge ability. These don't have this, so you have to play a bit more defensively with these and make sure that they're not going to be getting tagged unnecessarily, because it really does hamper their output. And then the thing that we changed the spitter to in this list for Leeds, because obviously with the impending Knights, we changed it to a Blight Hauler. The ability for this to hit on 2s, wound on whatever it is, a big Knight will still be 4s, but a little Knight will be 3s if it's in Contagion. twos if it's in contagion because of the plus one to wound. So yeah, this is a really powerful unit, mainly for a threat. Obviously, you can still roll ones, and that's not ideal. But your opponent's never going to be thinking that. They're always going to be thinking, "Oh crap, what do I do if I get two melters in here and takes half the wounds off a big knight or just one shots a small knight?" So this was a late change, but I do think it's going to come up good in Leeds. So we'll see afterwards if the switch from the spitter was worth it or not. And then we have the 3 units of Potswalkers, and with the changes to the UKTC maps, I feel like Potswalkers are very, very valuable. The infiltrate is fantastic for you to be able to pressure units that don't want to be like locked up in melee early on or wants to push you out, and it allows you to sort of protect your push and your stages by move blocking, which is perfect for what they are. They're a 60-point unit you can just throw away if you need to, but ideally these are the things that you're spreading your contagion turn 2 so that you can get your death shroud drop in. There also usually one goes on home to screen if the home objective is important. We don't obviously want to let people in our battlefield for free, so 60 points to do that is perfectly fine by me. As mentioned before, also Typhus can join in the Potswalker units mid game, which can catch some people out. Obviously, tell them that that's something you can do before the game, but it's perfectly valid to move the Potswalkers in a 4-inch charge, attach Typhus where you can, and then make the charge. And Typhus is potentially into something juicy turn 1. Finally, we've got the Chaos Spawn. Chaos Spawn are really, really important to how the list functions, at least how I play them. They are the fastest things in our army, and they can move through walls, that is. So the 6-inch scout and then the 8-inch move means you realistically got a 14-inch move towards the opponent if you really want to do that turn 1, and that can really help if you are planning to jail them in with the Potswalkers. And the spawn are very much harder target for them to remove, being T7 with a 4-up and a 5-up feel no pain, and the ability to do the mortals back. They're not going to want to be fighting these, and you want to try and get these into situations where they're not going to die, but the units that are fighting them either has to fight them and will take mortals because they're doing that, or they have to fall back. And if they don't have access to fall back, shoot, and charge, or something like that, they're really going to hate these spawn. So the spawn, along with the Potswalkers, are really, really fundamental to how the list runs because they are the contagion spreaders and they are your sort of action units and the ability to allow the rest of the list to do the damage. And I think that's everything. I will have battle reports up. After Leeds, I'm going to try and take some videos like some of the other bat reps I've done on the channel, and maybe run through a round by round and put a video up of each one. If I do remember and try to get some good footage at the event, that would be great. But I'll probably try and recreate them on TTS as best as I can remember them. But yeah, this is the list. I've had a few games on pretty much this exact list, other than the Blight Hauler switching with the Spitter drone. So we'll see if that last minute change is going to make a huge difference or not. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. Look out for the bat reports after Leeds. I'll take some time to go through them and making sure that they're any good. But yeah, thank you for the support of the channel, and I hope to see any of you in Leeds.